Yo, what's up? It's another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy B Moss. If you are a real fan, a true follower, you'll see there's like a little bit of a change of scenery here. It's because I am blessed to be celebrating the holidays in Florida at my uncle's house with my mom, my wife, and some other family. So excited about that. Happy holidays to everybody watching. But wrapping up the year, just wanted to make sure we do our annual recap episode just to kind of talk about, which was actually like a really, really crazy big year in the Neptunes, Pharrell, Chad, Star Trek family universe. So, um, also a crazy year for me. This is my first year being a full time, like my first full year as a full time entrepreneur, which has been crazy. But the blessing of that freedom has allowed me to be outside and be in some spaces to honestly celebrate this year with the Star Trek Neptunes family, which we'll get to in a second. But as we recap this year, first of all, I just want to say, you know, we are super intentional about making sure that people know this is a Neptunes podcast. We talk a lot about Pharrell because Pharrell is like really outside doing a bunch of stuff, but like we have a lot of love and respect and appreciation for Chad as well. So starting this off with like, it was dope to see Chad on social media out with his family, traveling. They got the Galaxy Gear movement going, which is cool. But traveling with his family, they were in Hawaii. I think they were in San Francisco. I think that's where he linked with. Cool to see him in the studio with Illmind. But he was also out here working. There's a couple of things that he produces here that I checked out that were cool. So shout out to Chad. Like, we love Chad. Whatever that's going on between the two of them is between the two of them. But a lot of love for Chad. But then to P, first off, we want to talk about the fashion P, which is like, was major. The reason why we say P was really outside fashion wise is because the Jellyfish Virginia movement was crazy. Like, I had the opportunity to go to the Virginia pop up that they did here in Virginia, not here because I'm in Miami, but in Virginia, in Virginia Beach or in the uh, oceanfront area that he's building up where the dome is, with the concert venue that they had the Clipse show at. Actually, they have Clipse shows coming up tomorrow. Today's Christmas. So tomorrow, the 26th and the 27th, back to back home for the holidays show for the Clipse. But back to Pharrell, the Virginia pop-up was dope. Jellyfish sneakers, they won sneaker of the year, which is crazy. I'm not gonna say I'm not a big Adidas guy. I'm a Nike guy by the way I was raised by my brother, which if you follow me on social media, you saw me talk about that earlier too. But the Jellyfish sneakers are like, they're kind of fire. Like, they're bulky, but like at the same time, they still are very much like active outdoor running type sneakers. So shout out to Pharrell and Jellyfish and the whole Virginia movement. I was blessed to be able to get one of the Virginia shirts sent to me. So if you see me in pictures wearing it at the Grammy Museum event in early December, that was dope. So shout out to them for sending me a shirt. I appreciate it. Um, didn't really spend a lot of time researching, but like I know there's a whole NIGO Human Made IPO thing that's also going to be a major move for fashion, which I think P just showing that he's really into it from the business side too. So I'm excited to see what comes from that. But big year for fashion as usual. I mean, for Pharrell, like still being active at LV, but then also the Adidas, the Virginia Jellyfish whole thing was like a crazy year for P. Jellyfish won sneaker of the year, which is a big deal. Another huge moment this year for Pharrell, co-directing, co-producing the Voices, or no, the Grace for the World show at the Vatican, which was crazy. Having all those black faces, all those black voices in music, but also from across the world at the biggest stage in terms of religious and Christianity was a huge deal. So we talked about that. We did a whole episode about that, episode 73. So check that out. But most importantly, in that show was a performance by the Clipse, who honestly, oh no, let me back up. Voices of Fire, great performance at that show. Then they dropped an album that was great. We talked about on the episode 2. So go check that out. Voices of Fire also had a great year. Around the same time that show happened, and then they released their album. They also did some promo. They were included in a promo for the Major League Baseball playoffs, and then they performed at a World Series game. So that whole Voices of Fire choir and them being a bunch of people from Virginia is a dope part of that. The big moments of this year as well. But like I was saying, Vatican show, important moment for the Clipse, part of their crazy 2025 return of them doing an album with Let God Sort Them Out, their first album in 16 years. And what a crazy, just like from the rollout to just like, I mean, we talked about the speculation about the album when I did the 50th anniversary episode at the end of last year, talking about the 50th anniversary of Till the Casket Drops. And we're talking about, just the excitement of the songs that we had heard so far with Chains and Whips and Birds Don't Sing, but then the speculation of who are the features, and we're talking about is Kendrick, is it Jay, whatever. So to go back and look at that episode last week and then think about how far we've come in this Clipse rollout plan, all this like has been absolutely crazy to think about. All the press, all the interviews, all the behind the scenes stuff that they've given us in these interviews and showing them just be excited to be back together. I feel like just from watching those, Push has a lightness about him that just feels like really carefree. To have his brother back with him, to be back outside. I was able to this year in the Clipse world. One, we did an episode live with Low Key and Michael Denzel Smith and Yo, to like celebrate the first the release of the album, which was great. I was able to go see them in concert in their first show back in Virginia back in August, and was able to run into Malice at the end of the show, which was great. Chop it up with him to get the love from him and see him recognize the work that we're doing on this podcast was amazing. I ran into Malice again at an event in Norfolk State for Norfolk State's homecoming when they were talking about voting and black men's role in the community. So really got a chance to chop it up with him then, like talk about how things are going and talk about just how this whole year has gone and what the plans are for the future. So really dope to get this FaceTime with Malice at that event. Earlier this month in December, I went to LA for the conversation with the Clipse that they did with Elliott Wilson at the Grammy Museum, which was also amazing. So just to hear them continue to drop gems about this process, about them being back, about what this album means to them. Obviously, the biggest thing that we're talking about right now is the fact that they're nominated for 5 Grammys, which includes 2 big ones of Rap Album of the Year and Album of the Year. So hopefully they get one of those. The competition in both those categories is crazy stacked. Obviously, you got to go against Kendrick, who's a friend of the program, not the program, but a friend of the Clipse. But best of luck to them, man. And so hasn't been announced yet. If you're watching this, you'll be the first one to know. We are working on hopefully hosting a Grammy party somewhere in Virginia very soon. We'll be getting that information out, but we want to be able to celebrate this moment for the Clipse, but also for our guy Skills, Mad Skills, who's from Richmond, who is an icon, pioneer for hip hop in Virginia, and just really want to make sure we celebrate how big this moment is. The fact that the Clipse are up for 5 is a big deal, and then Mad Skills is nominated for the second year in a row for the spoken word album, and most importantly, like Skills has enlisted the help of a big group of people that are from Virginia, from Richmond, to help contribute to that album. So it could be a big night for us. Pharrell is also getting I think he's getting the Dr. Dre award the night before. So Grammy weekend is going to be big for Virginia. So like we wanted to make sure that we had a presence, even though we can't go to LA, but like we want to celebrate it in Virginia. So look out for information about that event happening on the Grammy night on February 1st. Would love to see you come out if you're in the 7x7 or wherever it's going to be. I haven't decided that yet, but just be ready. So just to wrap it up real quick, the one thing we always do at the end of the year's episodes is like the top 5 songs that came out. So I mentioned the Don Toliver song LV Bag. I think that's gonna be my number 5. I think the vibe of that is pretty cool. Number 4 for me, Voices of Fire. The album is really good. Like if you're into gospel music or like you really appreciate the blend of gospel and secular music that happens on that album, or like we talked about on the episode before, just how Pharrell's kind of in this Kirk Franklin bag. Like that's what that album is. So if you appreciate that, you'll like the album. So like number 4 for us was the song Are You Ready, which I think was the song that they used in the Major League Baseball commercial, and I think they performed that at the World Series game too. Now, a huge part of like us being fans and fans enough to start this podcast is like we love it when Pharrell raps. So I had to put songs on this top 5 that have Pharrell rapping on it. So Ibida didn't make the top 5, but that's easily 6 or 7 for me. But at number 3, I put Tyler, the Creator, Big Poe. Like the fact that we got 2 Pharrell verses this year was crazy, but the energy on Big Poe was crazy. And the reason why I put Big Poe here instead of Ibra is because he raps a little bit more on Big Poe. And I think that it's such a statement song to open that album. When you think about the context of Tyler just dropped Chromacopia and people are so excited about that, and then all of a sudden we got a new album and like coming off his feature on the Clipse album, and then the first feature we get on this first song on this new album from Tyler, it's got Pharrell rapping on it, was just like a big deal. So check that out if you haven't. And then number 2, top 2 are both Clip songs. I'd say I could have put any of the Clip songs as the top 2, but these are the 2 I landed on and the one when I made this list. And I'm saying I'm going with FICO at number 2 because I think it's the best song on the album. Both verses from Pusha and Malice are crazy, and FICO is really made though by the hook from Stove Gods, which is easily the best hook that I've heard in a few years. But FICO is at my number 2, and then at number 1 I have So Be It. And So Be It is at number 1 because I think it is my favorite, and I'm not gonna say it's the best, but it's my favorite Malice verse. And I think that has a lot to do with it being the second single, had a lot to do with us seeing the video before we had the chance to hear the song, right? Like if you the first time you heard So Be It, you saw the video, so you got to see, which is like, I think the video is nominated for a Grammy too, which is crazy. But like the visual of that, the black and white, this dark, scary horror type rap vibe that they're giving, and then Malice being very much like, I think that really sticks to his claim that, yo, he's back and this album is gonna be crazy. I also chose So Be It because I really, really, really love the lore, the story of how Swiss Beats and Pusha and Malice told the story when they did the interview with Elliot Wilson at the Grammy Museum about how Swiss Beats came and saved the day and was like, they're trying to figure out who the sample was from, and Swiss Beats was going to, I think, Saudi Arabia or somewhere over there where he had to like actually had to sit down with the person who they had to like get permission from. So all that just shows like the power of hip hop, which is crazy. Who thought that hip hop would make it this far? Where we're talking about, we got a veteran producer going to another country to get a sample cleared for some other people in the game who he's cool with that are putting out their first album for the first time in 16 years. And like, who would have thought we would have been able to do that? So overall, So Be It's number 1 for me. Has nothing to do with the beef or anything that Pusha says is about beef. It's literally about the raps. But yeah, I think that's, whatever that noise is behind me that I just cranked on is a sign that I gotta get back inside. So appreciate y'all. It's another year in the books of the Neptunes Sunday podcast. Follow us on social media if you haven't. Also check out the Virginia Hip Hop Foundation social media and Virginia Hip Hop Foundation website. Didn't really talk about that much on the show this year, but like that's something that I'm a part of, that we launched in August as a way to celebrate hip hop's contribution, or Virginia people's contribution to hip hop globally over time, preserve the history and culture of hip hop, but specifically what, Virginians have contributed to that. And obviously Pharrell and Chad and Clipse are a huge part of that, but we also are here to show that it's bigger than that. So check that out too. There's going to be a lot of content that comes out from here, but still comes out from here, from Neptune Sunday, but also comes out from Virginia Hip Hop Foundation channels as well. But big picture, it's about telling the story. It's about preserving the culture, preserving the history. And I appreciate you guys locking in. Year 5 is in the books. So hope everyone has a happy holiday. We'll check y'all next time. Peace and love.